What up, gamers? What is up, gamers? What's up, gamers? Before I start this video, I would like to thank everyone who watched and supported my last video about my girlfriend. Special thanks to the people who commented, especially George Slover and Rowan. Appreciate it very much. It melts my heart seeing people actually enjoy my videos, and I didn't really expect much from that video, but it did bring back a little bit of my fire into making videos, so here I am. And I also noticed that a big chunk of the people that watch me or saw that video specifically aren't subscribed, and I do these for fun. So if you like my content, which is honestly pretty random, please do consider subscribing. I've wanted to do that for so long now. And I don't know why I never did, but here I am doing it now. Video gaming is a weird way of consuming media, and if you really think about it, compared to like other mainstream entertainment like movies, shows, music, and even concerts, gaming is the only one that heavily relies on input, which sort of puts it in between consuming art and making art, because some games do allow you to create freely, and some would call art as well. That in itself seems to be another controversial topic I've noticed, is that a lot of people ask the question if game development is considered an art form. It has music, it has visual design, storytelling, and even art direction, but a lot of people don't consider it as art. I personally do consider it as an art form with all of the games that I played and all of the people that I've met who make games, and I can confidently say that some people express art through making video games. And I can say that because you can see the impact that some of these games have made to a lot of people, and I am one of those people. Because this is my channel and I can do whatever I want, I'm making a show and tell type video, and this is supposed to be a things I like video, heavily inspired by a segment of the official podcast used to have, or sometimes have. But while I was making the script for the video, I figured that I like too many things and it's gonna be too long to put into one big video. So I'm starting with one big part of my personality, which is video games. I'll be listing some of my favorite games, and honestly, I suggest you guys do sort of a list. Comment down below, or maybe make your own video of like top games that you really appreciate that have shaped your life and personality. This is my video. It's gonna be a long one. Get comfy, grab a snack, and hopefully enjoy. Starting out strong, baby. Minecraft. Minecraft is an open world sandbox game. It's like Legos, but for poor people. It's a game where the only limitation is your imagination. It's beautiful, it's endearing, and it's a perfect video game for a child. And the ceiling for this game, honestly, is sky high. And with the modding community along with it, the ceiling only grows higher. There's probably only a handful of games that can and have achieved the level Minecraft sits in. This game raised me, and it's one of the first few video games I experienced as a kid, and it's a game I still come back to every now and then. I can confidently say that I'm not the only one. This game raised a whole generation of kids, and I feel like this game probably had this huge impact, not just because of the game itself, but also the wild and like thriving community back then. I look back at this era of the internet and can't help but feel a little melancholy, although some of these personalities have gone down the deep end, and most of them aren't as prolific anymore. The game itself still is as fun as it was back then, and you can even go back to older versions of the game if you wanted to. Some players even only ever play one version of the game, primarily for online PvP, I believe. There's another thing about my relationship with this video game, because for most of my experience with it, it's only ever me and the game. I never really joined public servers, played PvP, or even had a long running server with friends, only because anyone I wanted to start a server with never really lasted for longer than a week or two. And most of my memories with the game is either just me playing by myself or playthroughs I've watched throughout my childhood. I have this huge survival world I developed back then when I used to stream the game. And even if it isn't the case, I like to imagine that I gave someone out there the experience I had with watching one of these YouTubers. And now that I've found someone who can match my patience and my pace with the game, i.e. my girlfriend. Me and my girlfriend have had 2 Minecraft worlds, and the only reason we started a new one was because of the cave update. This game has and always will have a special place in my heart, and I know a lot of people feel the same way. I grew up with it. It's amazing how engaging it can be as a child and even as an adult. With the game's changes throughout the years, I would argue that, at least for me, it's only gotten better. And disregarding its horrible optimization, I love this game. It's beautiful, it's kind, which isn't something you can say for if Minecraft is a loving partner who brings out the best in you, will stay by your side despite the circumstances. Minecraft will love you no matter what, and she's open arms even when you're not at your best. League is not that. League is the toxic girlfriend. League will tell the whole world your liabilities. She will kick you when you're down, manipulate you, and make you question your self-worth. She's sweet at times, but only to keep you wanting, probably. And you never leave because League is hot. She is very hot. As with most online competitive games, League isn't something you love outright. You are essentially stuck in this never-ending loop of winning and losing and thinking you're the GOAT and then hating yourself the next day. I love this game. I've had regrets, but I can still say that I love this game, and I've been playing it since Season 5, and it's shaped my formative years. I personally don't like MOBAs, and I've come to realize that since I've tried so many other MOBAs, and the learning curve is just too steep for me. I do think there's two big factors at play here on why I got so addicted to League. First is the fact that I got into it relatively early, making the game easier to digest compared to whatever it has become now. Second is the Filipino PC cafe culture. And if you're not aware, the electricity you feel in these gaming cafes is nothing I have and will ever experience. It felt more of a friend group activity than a gaming session, to be honest. And of course, that wouldn't last forever. Eventually, I got stuck in the hellscape that is the grind. A huge chunk of my experience with this game is desperately trying to climb the ranked ladder. The god-forsaken ranked ladder. And I'm not very good at this game. I only ever peaked Diamond back in like Season 10, I think. And it's only because of a friend of mine who carried me through it. Shout out, Woojin. Maraming salamat. Thank you very much. Mwah. I think it's also my lax personality that's sorta holding me back, because I've noticed that people that care more about the game are the ones that thrive in its competitive scene. Basically, the angrier you are when you are losing, the more you cared, and the more you cared, the better you got. And I just wasn't that person. I remember vividly back then getting so tilted in a game that I slammed my laptop shut. I felt very yucky and immature, and I was worried if my laptop survived. It did, but after that, I made sure to always keep my chill, and I always told myself that it was just a game. And that's a problematic mindset if you're trying to climb, because there are times where you're losing, but you're having fun. But that's fine, because I prioritize that. I wanted to have fun more than actually climbing the game. The goal is to have fun, and if I'm not having fun, then it's not serving its purpose for me. I also used to stream this game alongside with Minecraft. The community this game can be very toxic, but it can also lead to some very fruitful relationships. So it's not all bad. I realized like the way I talk about League is kind of the same with how I introduced it as like a toxic girlfriend, and you're trying to convince your friends, no, she's not that bad. She doesn't hurt me as much. She only hit me once last week. The main problem that I had with this game was its addictive nature and Vanguard. I sunk thousands of hours into this game, and being addicted to an online competitive video game is bad. It is very, very bad. Unless it's a career for you, I don't think it's a good thing. And I would argue that being addicted to an offline game is a much better situation. Still not good, but it's not as bad. At least you don't get the toxic people around you telling you how nice your mother is. Well, eventually a different game would reel me in, sucking in hundreds of hours of my life. Who knew roguelikes could be just as addictive? Risk of Rain 2 is a roguelike, meaning it plays kind of like an arcade game where losing in the game means you have to start all over again. But there is an RNG aspect to it where some parts of the game changes every time you play it. It can be the map, an item, an ability, or the enemies. It's the random nature of roguelikes, the reason it's been growing in popularity. There is so many to choose from these days, and Risk of Rain is my very first roguelike. No, not this one. This one. The only reason this game got on my radar was because of my OJT, or on-the-job training, requiring me to play it. OJT is basically just an internship. I got put in a game development team, and I was in charge of the music. And this developer wanted to make a 2D platformer roguelike, and he mentioned that it played kinda like Risk of Rain. So I played Risk of Rain to get a feel for what it is, and after experiencing it, I got kinda hooked. It was probably the first game I installed on my Steam Deck as well, and not long after I bought Risk of Rain 2. This game blew my mind, and I was already aware of the first game's core mechanics and art direction, so Risk of Rain 2 takes everything great about the first game and just cranks it up by a million, making it 3D, and the visual arts are great, the music is great, the gameplay felt smooth as hell, and this game can either make you feel like a god or a piece of garbage, and that all depends on how well you know the game. The depth is insane, and the possibilities skyrocket once you figure out how items work with each other and your characters. And the character selection is mwah. I am confident when I say that you will find a character for your specific playstyle. They are all unique to play. The ability variation and how well each character works with different kinds of builds is something you'll find yourself exploring for longer than you'd like, I would say. This means your playstyle for every character will be different. Other than that, the items that you get every run isn't guaranteed, so that's also going to affect your playstyle. This game is deep, and that means sinking hours and hours into the game to fully experience everything it has to offer. I personally have put in 744 hours as at the time of recording, which isn't a lot for some veterans of the game, but when it comes to my Steam hours, it only comes second to another game called, I did some light Googling for this video, and this entire time I always thought Warframe was an MMORPG. Apparently it's not. It's a co-op looter shooter game, and it's a live service ARPG, action role-playing game. As with most live service games, a lot of people have put in hundreds if not thousands of hours into this game, and that includes me. I don't think I've ever had the same relationship with any other game the way I do with Warframe, and a lot of people I know that play this game have similar relationships with other games like Destiny 2 or even gacha games like Genshin Impact. I tried Genshin when it was first getting popular, but my enthusiasm was never the same with what I had with Warframe. Warframe is grindy. You collected stuff, weapons and frames, which are basically characters with different abilities, and it's primarily PvE, which basically just means you battle NPCs rather than other players. They did release a PvP mode back then, but we don't really talk about that. It's a game that has a lot of depth to it, and the longer the game exists, the farther the end game gets. It's a live service game, it's a forever game, and what I love about Warframe compared to other forever games is that it respects your time. You can stop playing at any given moment, whether it's because of burnout or something else going on in your real life, but once you come back, you don't feel behind. You never feel behind. You don't feel the pressure of always being on top of everything the game has to offer. I personally haven't played it in a while, probably for over a year now, yet it holds a really special place in my heart. It's a comfort game. It's chill, it's kind, and the community is awesome. Warframe is free to play. You don't have to spend money at all to get the full experience. You can, but you don't have to. And honestly, it's baffling to me that all of this is available to everyone for free, because it's a great single player experience. The only thing that Warframe hasn't really gotten right, at least to my knowledge for the longest time, is its new player experience. But once you get past it, it's a great single player experience. The world is vast, the lore is well thought out, the gameplay is stellar, and the options are limitless. Can't fight a specific boss? Queue up with random strangers that can finish the mission before your potato computer even loads in. A specific item is out of your reach? Trade with players, looking for things that you already have. There's so much content to go through this game, and it never really pressures you to consuming all of it. It respects your pacing and your time. And again, if online isn't really your thing, the single player storyline is amazing. I feel like one of the main things that made me play this game in the first place was its hack and slash aspect. And it's probably why I stuck to it for so long. Even back then, this sort of genre tickled my brain a certain way. And I say back then because I have been playing a lot of hack and slash games for a long time. And one of them was Ben 10 Protector of Earth. The very first gaming thing I ever owned was the PSP. And I didn't realize how convenient handheld gaming was at the time. It's the reason I managed to play so many games. Before PC gaming, this was my bread and butter. I never really owned a fully fledged gaming console, and at the time, computers at our home could only really run browser games. So my entire gaming experience centered around this thing. And this thing had a lot of games it could play, but one managed to capture my heart for obvious reasons. Ben 10 is one of my favorite cartoons, and I watched it as a kid. I watched it again as a teenager, and I'll probably watch it again as an adult. And of course, when I found out that the PSP had a Ben 10 game, I convinced my parents to get it for me. Ben 10 Protector of Earth is an action-adventure hack-and-slash style game, and it's only one of many Ben 10 games that were released for the PSP. I played all of the other games, but none of them really captured my heart the way this game did. There were other objectively much better hack-and-slash games that I played. I remember playing Chains of Olympus and Ghost of Sparta on the PSP as well, and I remember enjoying those games. But Protector of Earth was just something else, enough to make high school me download a PSP emulator on my phone just to play it again, and then again when I got my new PC, and then again when I got my Steam Deck. The game follows Ben trying to retrieve all of his aliens back, and after they get stolen and spread across different locations, he had to fight different villains from the show to retrieve the aliens one by one. And then after experiencing this game, I went to play the Alien Force one and all of the others, but this one felt much smoother. I don't know, I think it's the way default Ben rolls, maybe. I remember really liking how Ben moved in the game. The other ones felt a bit more sluggish compared to Protector of Earth. As a kid, I loved Ben 10 because of his juvenile yet caring nature. His character was further explored in the Alien Force and Ultimate Alien shows. I'm planning to make a video about some shows, cartoons, and animes that I really liked, so if you want to see that, subscribe down below. But anyways, there's just something about juvenile perspective that really draws me into a character. It's the reason I really gravitated to characters like Shazam. And on to something a bit more recent, I wasn't necessarily excited for this game when it got announced. If anything, I was much more excited for the God of War game since I already had some emotional attachment to the franchise. But anyways, Spider-Man PS4 is an open world game. There's a pretty lengthy main mission and a lot of side quests that you can do. This game had me on a chokehold. And I played a lot of the other PS4 exclusive ones like the God of War and the Ratchet and Clank one. But this one was special for some reason. It managed to factory reset my brain back to high school settings. I would lock myself in my room with nothing else but the game. And I would only come out to eat food and flush out poop and piss. And I vividly remember having this same addictive nature on Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions on the Wii. There's just something about these Spider-Man games, man. I don't know. I only ever got to play Shattered Dimensions because of my cousin who let me borrow his Wii, so I got to flesh out the entire story and all the side stuff. And it's funny because the only reason I got to play PS4 Spider-Man was because of another cousin of mine letting me borrow his console. My first playthrough was on the PS4, and apparently it wasn't enough for me. I 100%ed everything. Then after that, I played the entire thing again in New Game Plus on Ultimate Difficulty. Sadly, that wasn't enough for me either. So as soon as the game was available on PC, I bought it and then played through it again the same way. So technically twice on the PS4 and then twice on PC. And then when Miles Morales got released on PC, I also bought that too. It was fun, but it wasn't the same, you know. The game was shorter and I kind of missed the gadget variety. I think a big reason I got really hooked into this game was the swinging aspect. I do think a lot of people play GTA 5, for example, for the driving, since they really work hard on making the driving in that game feel really smooth, since a big chunk of your gameplay is going to be driving. And I would argue that the same can be said with Spider-Man swinging. Fun fact, it was only after the 2004 Spider-Man game was when they added physics to the swinging, where the webs actually connected to the buildings around you. There's a great video of a guy who developed the swinging for the 2004 game experiencing the 2018 game for the first time. I'll link it down below. Anyways, a big chunk of your gameplay is swinging through the map. So they really had to make the swinging feel good. And they nailed everything. The variety of movement choices, the animations, the speed, even the city you traverse in. The city is stunning, by the way, and I think aesthetics played a big role for me with this game too. The unlockables were a lot of fun to collect, especially with different suits paired with different types of abilities, passive abilities rather. But again, this game wouldn't feel the same if not for the movement. And what game better serves the experience of flying through cities with a feeling of immense power other than Prototype 2 is also an open world hack and slash style game. But baby, I love me some hack and slash. You follow a character named James Heller You got powers, you run fast, jump far, punch hard, you know the drill. By the end of the game, you fight the protagonist of the first prototype game, Alex Mercer. Now, you might be wondering, Nims, there's 2 prototype games. Why choose the second one? Well, it's because it's the only one I got to fully play. I did experience both of them in PC cafes as a kid, but I never got to flesh out the story since I'm only there for no more than 2 hours. So when I got my first computer, this is one of the first games I downloaded, mainly because I thought the second one was cooler with more abilities available. And growing up, I always thought open world games were so cool. The freedom to go anywhere sounded amazing, especially as a kid, and this game gave that to me, along with an absurd power trip. And I remember wanting to play Infamous Second Son as well, seeing Pewds play it for the first time. But of course, I never got to since it was only available on PlayStation. The game also made me feel extra edgy with everything you could do in the game, because if you're a fan of these games, you'd know that you're not necessarily the good guy of the story. Another thing that hooked me into the game is the movement. As I mentioned, it's fluid, it's interesting, it has depth, and at least with how I remember it, running through the city felt very smooth. And I think it did feel that way because it assisted you a lot whenever you'd encounter a roadblock of some sort. And younger me wasn't very good at games, so looking cool while holding W was a great experience for me. The combat was explosive and satisfying. It felt amazing to jump around and destroy helicopters and ground slam right after. I think a big reason I had a lot of fun was the variety of weapons, and it kind of reminded me of Generator Rex to an extent, with the extending limbs being the powers, or the weapons rather. You'll notice a pattern of games I played back then where they'll often be much more readily available. I'd only ever have a chance to play games that are either free or once my friend managed to attain off of the high seas, if you know what I'm saying. This made open world games look so much more prestigious to me, since they usually have higher demand in graphics and usually a lot more things to do compared to a linear game. With PC games, I only ever really got to experience the ones my dad was excited for to get for himself, that paired with the hardware limitations of an Intel Pentium processor. So I had a lot more experience with like PG games, so it's not much of a surprise for me to say that I got really into. Tower defense games was never really my thing, and even today I rarely play tower defense games or even get into it. This game was totally different. Instead of the single lane where enemies would go through, it utilized this multiple fixed lane grid type of system where the enemies walk towards your turrets instead of around them. And at the time, I couldn't really think of anything like it. I played a bunch of mobile tower defense games, but none compared to the polish and depth Plants vs. Zombies had. I even tried out the mobile Plants vs. Zombies 2, which was also a lot of fun, but it didn't really capture the magic of the first game, at least for me. I love this game. The systems are interesting and the plant synergies are in-depth enough for the game to convince you to start experimenting. Needless to say, this game had a lot of cultural impact, enough to warrant merchandise in multiple games after it, and even a competitive shooter for some reason. Did you guys know this existed? The music in this game is stellar as well. Super Shigi did a fantastic job, I hope I'm saying her name right, with the soundtrack of this game. People still use the game's music up until today. I want to talk about these absurd Chinese mods that have sprung up due to the popularity of the game, specifically in China. Apparently, the game was so popular in that country that PopCap released a bunch of spin-off Plants vs. Zombies games for China only. Anyways, going back to the mods, I started seeing these TikToks a while back, and I was surprised that the original game still had an active community. And the specific mod that I saw is called Plants vs. Zombies Fusion. And as the name implies, you can fuse together plants to make these absurd looking plants. I never got to play this version of the game, but it's interesting to see where it's at now after 17 years since it's released. I just wanted to put this in your guys' radar in case someone else is like interested in this, because it's insane looking. One of the main aspects that made the game popular in the first place was its variety of plants to choose from. And at the start of every round, you're allowed to choose from 49 plants. And for the most part, you'd be using all of them throughout your entire playthrough, depending on what each round demanded. This freedom of choice really stuck to me. Knowing I can personalize which plants I would take per round made it feel like I was really creating my own playstyle. that's unique to me. And it's this very mindset that probably pulled me in to my first and only long-time gacha game. Yes, Battle Cats is a gacha game, and you can't convince me otherwise. I'll get into it a little later, but firstly, Battle Cats is also a tower defense game, but instead of plants that stay on a specific spot waiting for enemies, your cats move forward. There's only one lane, so everything your cat summons out will collide with all of the enemies that spawn in. This is a strictly mobile game, and it's free to play. I started playing this when I was around 12 or 13, which is also around the time the game got released, and I've been playing it on and off ever since, having a total of 3 accounts. The last account I had was lost, never to be recovered again. And this is due to the fact that Battle Cats don't upload your save data on your Play Store account. So if you're moving to a new device, you can't just log into your Google account and pick up where you left. They had a special code that you were supposed to use for whenever you wanted to log in a different device. And my last account, arguably my best account, was saved on my Nothing phone. Wait, let me go get my Nothing phone. Give me a sec. Here's my Nothing phone. It's all butchered in the back because of some repair guy losing some of the components. This thing got bricked and it wouldn't turn on, and I didn't know what to do. I emailed Nothing support, and apparently they don't really work with the Nothing phone anymore since they have newer devices. I have it up and running now, but I had to wipe everything on it, which of course includes my account along with the screenshot of my precious code. It's fine, I've wallowed enough about my account back then. Let's move on. I haven't played the game since, basically. I'm a little salty about it, but the game has so many cats to choose from, and the way you acquire the common ones, of course, is by progressing through the game's main storyline. It has a lot of endgame content as well, and it's where the gacha aspect comes in. You open these things called cat capsules, which you acquire with cat food, which are, of course, paid, and these cat capsules give you special kinds of cats. Editor Nims here. The silver cat capsules are for the common cats, and then there are golden tickets for golden cat capsules, which you get for the gacha stuff, or like the rare cats. Back to you, past Nims. There are some pretty obvious ones you'd expect off of a Japanese gacha game, but there are some very weird ones. The same way with how most gacha games does it is they have reoccurring banners where you'd only be able to pull specific kinds of cats. It's very grindy, but it felt casual enough for me to put in some hours while commuting or waiting outside since it's an Android game. They also had a lot of collaborations with some pretty well-known IPs. In hindsight, it's probably the game's accessibility that really got me into it. The fact that I play it on my phone, because these days most people consume media, take notes, or even do work on their phones. And as someone who plays a lot of games, it's kind of sad to see what the mobile gaming landscape has become. It's not all bad with the rise of like competitive online games coming to mobile, as well as some pretty immersive gacha games as well. But today, I wanted a game that was a bit more chill. I wanted something simpler. I remember seeing this game on our old Windows XP computer back then, not knowing how to play it. I mainly played the old pinball game and the Purple Place Factory thing when my dad brought home a Sony Vaio laptop installed with Windows Vista. Eventually, my dad taught me how to play Minesweeper. To my knowledge, there's no way for you to figure out how the game worked without either someone teaching you or just tinkering around with it until you notice the pattern, or like look for like a tutorial on YouTube, I guess. And I'm not surprised that most people I meet still don't know how to play this game. It's an old game and it doesn't really fit the modern landscape of video gaming today. So the way the game works is pretty simple. The game gives you this grid of tiles where the objective is to figure out which tiles have bombs and clear everything else. You have 2 modes of interacting with the grid. It's either clearing or flagging. Clearing opens up whichever tile you click, and flagging marks a tile as unsafe. The numbers you see after clearing tiles determine how many bombs are surrounding it. And with the context of other numbers around you and which tiles are clear, you can determine which tiles have bombs. You then flag the tiles you think have bombs so as to not accidentally clear them. That's basically it. There's this Android version I've been playing for a while now. There's not really much to the game, so this version basically just makes it look pretty, with some satisfying animations and best time record for you to track what your best time is. This game, other than Battle Cats, was my companion throughout countless hours of commuting. For context, I had to commute from Cainta to Manila for my junior and senior high school, as well as college. And each trip, depending on the time and day, would take me 1.5 to 2.5 hours each, just for one ride. So that's around 2 hours to get to school and then 2 hours to get home from school. Every day for how many years? And this game was technically my best friend. I remember at the time I had a Huawei P30 Lite. And at this point of my life, I don't think I had Spotify yet. So I would just have MP3 files on my phone. And I used wired headphones because at the time, phones still had audio jacks. Those are my 10 games that I wanted to showcase. There are still hundreds of games that I can talk about, but of course, I'll stick to 10 for now. Video games have and will always be a big part of my life and personality. It's how I and many others escape the reality of life and be part of some random world I choose to be in. It's shown me stories I wouldn't have seen and people I wouldn't have met. And it's an art form where you don't just watch from the outside and consume media, you step into this brand new universe and most times even be the character. Just make sure to have fun when playing these games. Because if you're not, then what's the point?